Yo, 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 what's going on, everyone? Actually, I'm in the live chat right now for the Avatar episode that we're about to watch. Here, I'm gonna go over so you can see it. Like Janet, Cora herself is actually talking to me in the chat. Look it. I have proof right here. Proof, proof. I mean, granted, I had been on the Avatar podcast before. They invited me a little while ago. So it's cool though. It's cool that I'm actually, directly talking to Cora. Sometimes it doesn't. It gets lost on me sometimes that happens. Um, but yeah, so today we're just gonna be reacting to the new episode. It's coming of Braving the Elements, which is of course is the Avatar podcast. Is in its third season. I believe they're gonna be covering fire this time, but there is a nice little tidbit that somebody found out about some new lore that is coming out of the episode. It's not in the main episode; it's actually in the bonus episode, which you have to pay for to receive. But I am going to talk about that at the end of this stream. We'll discuss it a little bit, and I'm probably going to make a video which is going to come out about it tomorrow. Oh my God, Dante Basco is there too. Oh, so many favorites for the creators and the voice actors. The problem is I also love other characters' lines so much. Can't wait for this new season. It is the Book of Fire. So that's kind of cool that they're in the chat right now. But let me say hello to you guys in my chat. So what is going on, Insomniac? What's up? Hello there. Rosaman16, LS Revenant, Cake, Kevin, High Ground Edits. Did I say hi to Boba already? I didn't. Boa Fettuccine, which is a pretty cool name. Kiki, what's going on? Amari, what's going on? LS Revenant, what's up? Darion, hi. Well, I'm not actually. I'm gonna lay in bed and listen while maybe trying to calculate some shut eye. Hope you all have an amazing night. I mean, podcasts are one of the better ways to go to sleep, I would say. The Avatar and Korra graphic novel series is the best thing to ever come out of Western comics. Boba, do you really believe that? I wish I was right there with you. That I hold the graphic novels to such a high esteem as you do. Can y'all see my chats? Yes, Insomniac. I see all your chats. I see all 3 of them. You said bet. Can you see my chats? And hello, Antoine. I've been good. Just done working out. Oh, cool. What kind of workout did you just have today? Ordeal by Brent Bristol will have its shine one day too. What is Ordeal by Brent Bristol? I've never heard that before. Hey, what's going on? Mentality of Nature Ninja. What's going on? So what are you guys most looking forward to with this this podcast? I just want to hear more stuff about Avatar Studios, but I heard that we're not going to hear anything about it because the podcast is already out. If you have like iTunes and Google Play, Airspeed Prime, who some of you guys might already know, he already listened to it, and he says there's nothing significant really in the actual episode, which is kind of unfortunate. I'm so excited for more novels. I wonder how much involvement Avatar Studios really has. Oh, they have all the involvement. I mean, if you've been following things like Avatar Generations, was that mobile game that just discontinued out of nowhere? There was a lot of input from Avatar Studios, particularly about like the Kyoshi novels and some of the RPG, the tabletop RPG game that came out last year, 2 years ago at this point. I'm not sure. Maybe it was 2 years, 2 years ago at this point. But the tabletop has a lot of new information. That stuff is really cool. Hey, what's going on, Paz? How you doing, man? Hey, what's going on, DJ Int Lord or Eant? DJ Eant? Like, are you like Lord of the Rings? Oh my God, Janet and Dante really are in this chat, like just talking to people. That's actually really cool. That's cool if they're doing that. They're actually really cool people. Like when I was on the podcast with them, they were just really nice. I actually met Dante in person in Vegas. He was cool. Tried not to geek out about him too much. I was like starting to get a little bit too deep about like Zuko and what his lightsaber form would be, and he was like, "What are you doing?" Oh, it's basically a military style book camp type workout. Oh, boot camp type workout. Oh, is it like, what do they call those things? A HIIT, high intensity workout? Is that what you mean? Did you do a high intensity workout? And what'd you work out though? Like, was it your legs? What were you doing? Your arms today? Were you working on your core? Do you think one of Aang and Katara's kids will already be born in the Avatar adult movie? No, that's already been confirmed not to happen because they are only, I forgot what the ages were. Hold on, let me see if I can look it up again. But the ages of Katara and Aang would not line up with them having any of their children. Let me actually look it up. Avatar Studios, not Studios, Avatar News, Aang movie age. It doesn't say. I mean, I have to like dig for it. But I remember in the past when we were talking about that story, Aang and Katara were not at an age where they would have already had Boomy. So this is pre-kids, basically. The movie is going to be pre-kids. Do you think it's going to take forever for Avatar to drop? Yeah, 2025 is the official date right now, but we'll see if we can keep that or not. Maybe we'll hear some updates today in the podcast episode. Oh my goodness, this Lucas D person keeps asking to be unbanned from his channel. Okay, let me unban him. Because I can't tell you how many times every stream he's been asked to unban. But the second he does something wrong, hey, by the way, any mods who are in the chat right now, if you see a Lucas D act up even a little bit, like auto ban because this person is constantly. Well, let me see if I can find the. I don't even know where you go to unban people. Oh, here you go. I think it's approved users and hidden users. Okay, so let's see. Hidden users. Lucas. Where is Lucas? I don't even see his name on here. Wait, a Lucas D. This must have been a while ago. Wait, I don't even see him being banned on my channel here. I'm looking through my ban list and I don't see Lucas on here. Unless I'm missing it. Let me see. Lucas. Yo, I honestly do not see. I don't see Lucas's name on here as someone who has been banned. Unless it's somewhere I literally do not see. If anyone knows Lucas in the chat, let him know that he's technically not banned on my channel. It says he's not banned on my channel, so. It's going to take forever for Avatar to drop. Are you also streaming on Twitch too at the moment? No, I am only streaming on YouTube these days. What do you think is the best Avatar content to come out post Legend of Korra? The Kyoshi novel, hands down, easily. Hands down, easy. Kyoshi novels. Hey, Dante, I actually met your friend David Hernandez at a party here in LA a while back. What? Excuse me? How do people in chat know each other when you guys have like random usernames? It's actually kind of fascinating to me. Do you think Tenzin and his wife can potentially have a water bending child? I don't really. I mean, they haven't gotten specifics about like how bending genetics work necessarily. But I mean, yeah, Tenzin would technically have a water bending gene within him, so he should have the possibility of being like maybe Rohan could be a waterbender. Although has it been confirmed if Rohan is an airbender or not? Can't remember if in the last book we ever see him bending or not. Don't recall that. The D is silent, so it's just Gent. Ah, got you. Gent Lord. Okay. I was like, wait. DJ Int? Like Int? As in like the Lord of the Rings tree people? Hey, you just joined. What happened? Oh, hey, I just joined. What just happened? Nothing much. We're just waiting. So today's going to be like a super just hangout stream. I might actually not be able to even leave this video up because I'm going to be playing the podcast. And I'm sure that's going to be like hit with a copyright strike. So enjoy the live stream while you can, because I think the video is not going to exist after today. I thought the Avatar movie was going to be a 12 years later, so Aang would be 24. Yes, he's in his mid-20s, but I do not believe that is when they started having children. I don't think they started having children at 24. I think potentially you might see a baby Boomy, but you're definitely not going to see Kaya. You're definitely not going to see Tenzin in the new movie. The only one that we could possibly see is going to be baby Boomy. Do the creators have a podcast, or are you going to listen to Braving the Elements? No, we're listening to the Braving the Elements podcast today. I'm reacting to it and, going over the stuff that they reveal, if they reveal anything today. Though I've been spoiled a little bit by ASP Prime, who already listened to the episode, and he says nothing major has happened. But there is more stuff in the bonus episode that they do, which is behind a paywall, which sucks. But we are going to talk about some of the clips that someone on my Discord gave to me, and we'll listen to those. But no, the creators themselves do not have a podcast. I mean, I guess you could say they have a podcast because Avatar: Braving the Elements is their podcast, technically speaking, because they are the creators of Avatar. Though I'm sure it's owned by Nickelodeon, not by them. Hey, Flameo Shinobi Avatar, Flameo. I don't think they ever confirmed his bending. Yeah, I don't think they ever confirmed Rohan's bending, right? Something in my brain tells me that he's an airbender, but I actually can't recall like what episode or where he actually showed to be an airbender. Hey, what's going on, Ice Teaser? Do you think Guru Lahima could have been one of the few airbenders around in Avatar: The Last Airbender? Perhaps he was the Hama of the airbenders. Oh, no. Guru Lahima lived thousands of years before The Last Airbender takes place. I forget exactly when. I know Zahir says it, and later on in the Kyoshi novels, they mention it too, that I think he lived like 1,000 years, like at least 1,000 years, probably more. prior to the last Airbender, because there's a character named Lauga who is a mentor to Kyoshi, and he is one of the people who discovered the ability to essentially become immortal through earthbending. Um, and he said he was a contemporary of a Guru Lahima who lived thousands of years in the past. So no, Guru Lahima definitely was not living during the time of Hama or Aang, and I'm talking about Aang even 100 years prior to the iceberg stuff. Um, so no, Guru Lahima is quite old. Katara said when Pema was pregnant, she sees another airbender in her future. Oh God. Okay, yeah, I think that's what I remember from the show. So we didn't actually get a confirmation if Rohan was airbender, but it was pretty highly alluded to that he was going to be an airbender. How much longer until this premiere happens? It's at 3 o'clock, right? Oh, so 4 more minutes. You know what? Actually, probably should switch over the screen so that we can be ready for it. And then let me turn off the music, too, that I have going on in the background. So we can just hear the podcast on its own. Starlight. Hey, hello, Starlight. Could one of you check to see if I said anything wrong? Why did the ATLA channel time me out? I got timed out. I don't know. You have to be especially on that channel. Like, they're extremely kid friendly. Like on my channel, obviously, you guys can say like a little bit more crazy stuff. But yeah, if you're ever on the official channel, like you have to keep it very PG. Like not even PG-13 all the time. Like you have to keep it pretty PG to be in good standing on that channel. You mean Lauga? Yeah, Lauga, I believe. I forget what his exact age was, but he definitely is hundreds of years old for sure. I hope the Roku novel isn't delayed again. I don't think so. I think it's only going to be. I think it's definitely coming out in 2024 or this year, for sure. Wow, like it's 6 months. I think the book's coming out, right? 6-7 months. I think it's implying that Rohan is a bender when Katara sends another strong bender whilst holding Pema in episode 1 of Korra. If you want to line up the ages, my guess is that Aang's firstborn was when Aang was probably in his later 30s, while Katara is like 80 when Tenzin and the rest were in their 50s. Yeah, that's why I'm saying that I don't believe that the movie that we're about to get is going to show any of their kids, because I don't think any of the kids would be born at that point. They seem to be older parents, both Aang and Katara. Didn't Aang technically waterbend in the Avatar state when fighting Zuko in the start of Book 1 before he actually starts to train to waterbend? Yes, that's because that wasn't him waterbending. That was his Avatar state doing it. And that's happened in the past before. That's how they knew that Kyoshi was the Avatar. Wait, no, that's actually not how they initially figured out that she was the Avatar. Unless she did do... I don't think she waterbends when she was fighting the pirate Tagaka. I think she just did like an extreme feat of earthbending, which uplifted the seafloor, which made them go, "Oh, she's probably the Avatar." And then that's when they took her to Father Glowworm. I actually forgot. I have to actually reread the books to see what that's all about. If you Antoine, do you plan on finishing your KOTOR and or Fallen Order playthrough? Fallen Order, I've been played. I've been finished that one, and KOTOR I played it for as well. But those are all off stream. I don't really do gaming on stream anymore. I don't find it fun to stream games like publicly anymore. I think it's a lot more fun to do it like off stream. I could use my other account on the ATLS stream, but when I use that account on Antoine streams, nobody can see my chats. Oh, well, we can see your chats here. But yeah, you have to be very, very, very careful on the official channel with your words, because yeah, you can get timed out or banned pretty quickly over there. Who do you think is the most powerful bender outside of the Avatar and the whole franchise? False Avatar Yoon, I would say, is probably one of the more... Well, no, the Bloodbenders, actually. So, Yakon and Amon, I would say, the most powerful benders outside of the Avatar. Oh, was it 60s? Damn, then it's probably going to be a few years after this movie's timeline. Oh, yeah, them having kids? Yeah, I think if they do make the movie a trilogy of movies, then yes, we could possibly see them in like a second or third movie. But I think it's going to be a standalone movie from what we know of it so far. I couldn't agree more. I don't know why that theory was shut down by Mike. Oh, wait, hold on. Kuvira? Hama is the reason Kaya got killed. Oh, possibly. I don't know. Oh! Wow, that is loud. Let's go ahead and turn that all the way down. And god dang, that was loud. That was loud. Okay. Let me know, guys, if anything sounds off. I'm gonna keep track of the chat pretty well today. What's my favorite episode of Avatar: Last Airbender and Legend of Korra? Leaf in the Wind is my favorite episode for Airbender. I'm sorry for Korra, and I would say the Blue Spirit probably is my favorite episode of Airbender. If I'm thinking about that correctly. Yeah, I think Blue Spirit. Yo, Antoine, as a waterbender, how do you want to be a waterbending master? Like, do you want to learn any subbending? And it's midnight here in Belgium. Oh, I'm so sorry that it's midnight in Belgium. That's so late for you. Waterbending master, what subbending would I want to do? I don't know if I really would care too much for subbending. Like, I don't really care so much for bloodbending. I wouldn't have an affinity for that. Healing, maybe. I think I might be more like privy to having healing and stuff like that. I'm hyped for the hopeful new series and more variants of core bending. It's a bit of a stretch, but things like that matter. Wait, though that is kind of energy bending too. Oh, we're actually going to talk about some energy bending later, so yeah. Yo, Antoine, do you think some of the voice actors will reprise their roles? We know that Dante Bosco is going to be Zuko again, but it seems like the rest of the cast are not going to be invited back due to them wanting to have better representation for some of the voice work. All right, here we go, guys. Man, what are we going to learn today? I wonder if we're going to learn something cool.
Hello, friends, benders and non-benders alike. Welcome to Braving the Elements, Nickelodeon's podcast about all things Avatarverse. I'm Janet Varney.
And I'm Dante Bosco. And Varney, we're back, baby. We're back.
That's right, buddy.
If it's too low, let me know, guys. I can turn it up.
This season's been a long time coming, but we're happy to be back in the Air Bison saddle to get into Book 3 with everyone out there.
We have so many amazing Book 3 episodes to dig into with some phenomenal new guests.
Give us break. Give us break.
Show, plus a ton of amazing deep dive conversations and games and so much more coming at you for season 3 of Braving the Elements.
I can't wait. And I think we all know that our
louder, please. All right, cool.
Was a little bit of a no-brainer, right? I mean, how could we possibly begin season 3 without a good old-fashioned family reunion? I'm gonna beat that analogy into the ground. We are never gonna stop calling them our two dads. So we are just over the moon spirit. Pause for laughter. To welcome back our two dads, Mike DiMartino and Brian Konietzko. Hello, dads.
Hello. What's up, guys? Our two dads are back. Good to see you guys. Long time no see.
Great to see you.
Like he still has his long hair. Although it looks like he kind of cut it. Brian cut his hair a little bit.
Season 3.
Oh, well, thank you.
I know. Season 3,
good.
Book 3. A lot going on. I was refreshing about what was going on. So much has been going on that I'm excited to get into what's going to happen.
What I hear you saying is I'm excited to go to the Fire Nation. Am I oversimplifying it?
I mean, a lot of good folks in the Fire Nation.
I actually have you guys in the chat actually been following the podcast? Because I actually don't
guys, we always
follow the
appreciate you
podcast
taking time
unless
out.
it
We know
involves
that
Mike
you're
and
so
Brian. To be
busy.
honest,
Obviously, you're very busy working on
working on what?
Some stuff.
Some things.
Why can't you guys give us anything? Like, just tell us something.
Avatar-related things. Yeah.
Which everyone's excited about. The whole fan.
I don't like how
base is
close-lipped they
excited
are.
About and just exploding. And of course, we all are. You know.
It is funny how she calls them dads.
All we can really say, like, I know everyone's like, "Hey, where's the stuff?
Yeah.
What's going on?" Like, everyone's working really hard. It takes a really long time to make animation. Thank you for your patience.
But you could give us like
promise it will
concept
happen
art or something.
someday when I don't really know when that will be, but
Uh-oh.
things are happening.
He said,
We
I don't know
appreciate
when
the
that's going to
answer at
be.
all. Brian is just sitting in
He told
silence,
us-
knowing that sometimes other people will
That
fill
doesn't
the
sound good, guys.
silence if you don't say anything.
I mean,
It's a
just for
very clever tactic.
just for context, like we started the original series, Avatar: The Last Airbender, in spring of 2002, and it didn't premiere until like spring of 2005.
Okay, so that's like
but
3
no one knew
years.
who we were or what we were working on. I think we did one little.
But it's been a minute since they've announced
pilot
Avatar
panel
Studios. Like, come
at
on now.
Comic-Con. So yeah, animation takes years of our lives and years off of our lives to make, and now we're trying to make a bunch of stuff all at once. So it's
Okay,
compounding
a
that.
bunch of stuff all at once.
Yep,
I do like the
everybody's
sound of
hard at
that
work,
because that
and
means maybe the movie and
working
the
with a bunch of
series
awesome people.
same time.
I think if I could state a goal for book 3 for season 3 of Braving the
Yeah,
Elements,
I
it
feel
would
like the
be
date's not reliable
to
either. Ice
restore
teaser.
some of those shaved off years. What we're trying to do here is be so positive and bring
I
so
love
much
Janet. Janet has
love
such a good
at
vibe.
you
Just
from
such a
the
good vibe.
fandom that you find yourself magically regaining those years that are being shaved off with all the hard work that you're doing.
It'd be amazing.
It's a small goal.
I mean, it works a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I'm amazed that people are still talking about it 20 years.
Because you guys made a
some
good
odd
show.
years
That's
later,
why.
so
Isn't
Yeah.
that crazy?
we're
I was
doing
talking to Jack
podcasts
about
20
that.
years later. Yeah.
No idea. I was talking to Jack DeSena about that the other day, and we were like, when we were recording this for the first time, like, there's nowhere. In
Hold
my
on, I'll
mind
increase
that
them
we
right
thought
now.
We'd be talking about this show 20 years later and it being revered the
No.
way it is, and really like, oh my god, like these are characters that we're gonna be remembered for.
Yeah,
like,
that's
it was
Cora's
nowhere
voice
in
actress.
our mind that was happening while we were
No.
doing it, which I think makes it even kind of cooler. you
yeah,
know?
and would that have changed anything? Like,
I
you're
don't
not putting
know.
that in the context of like, if only we'd known, we wouldn't have XYZ. Like, would anything really have changed if you knew that?
I don't know.
think
What do you
so.
guys think?
They are
When you
so
guys were
tight-lipped
just trying
as
to-
we were
creators,
just trying to
man.
make the best show we could at the time.
They are so
with the
tight-lipped.
knowledge we had and the people we worked with and stuff. So I don't know that we could have changed that or would have changed it. So
Yeah, I think we tried to make the show with a long shelf life. Coming from sitcom animation, it took just as long. It was hard to make as well, but it actually felt kind of disposable. It was just like a sitcom thing, and it was just sort of felt like it was just filling that half hour and that week. It didn't really seem like it had a little bigger life, to me at least. I don't know. I think because I was craving more epic stories and bigger character
To be
arcs
fair, though,
and,
the fact that they aren't
so yeah, we definitely
telling us
tried to
stuff
make
might
it
be good too. Because like, what if something doesn't
that
come
would
out?
last, but I don't know. We've been in it for so long. I've lost.
I know,
I've
Starlight.
lost
I
any
agree.
sort of
Other
reference
creators,
point
like,
of what I
can't they
thought.
say anything?
How long
Anything?
I thought we would have been talking about it or working on it. So.
Well, why don't we get into?
Why does it low-key seem like they
we'll-
hate
we'll
Avatar
sort of get
sometimes?
into book 3.
Well, before we go into book 3, let's just give a huge shout out to book 2, where we
Yeah.
met some amazing people like Toph for the first time, and we enjoyed a lot of really delightful original songs and journeyed great distances across incredible places like intriguing swamps and deserts with sunken libraries,
Hey, what's going on, Kate?
dangerous
What's
water
going on, Darian? What's going on,
crossings.
Missy?
Right, we became exhausted from all
what's
that
going on,
running
Kavira
and
and Kaylee?
chasing by
Junior, what's up?
Azula. We
Is Liz
cried our
gaming?
eyes
What's up?
out during Tales of Ba Sing
Jenna Love.
Se and Appa's Lost Days. We found out that there both was
Junior, what's up?
and was not a war in Ba Sing Se. What else? We met a bear who was just a bear. We tried to sort of master all our chakras. We found out the right way to say chakras. And I don't know. Am I forgetting anything? Oh,
Chat's
yeah. we
agreeing with
watched
me.
Aang
Like
get
sometimes it sounds like
killed.
they hate
Dads.
it, but I think they just.
We watched Aang.
Yeah,
I think they
killed.
enjoy what they make, obviously.
that happened.
But I think it's just
I always
it
forget
takes
that.
a lot.
Mike's
It's
always
a
like, yeah, Aang-
huge
Aang
toll
died
on
in
them.
the book 2, and I'm always like,
I
he
forget
did?
about that too.
I thought he
See-
was
He did
dead
leave
zapped.
on a bit
See,
of a,
Aang did
yeah,
die.
Well,
He'll be saying
I
like he
mean,
didn't actually die.
Katara
I'm like,
had
no,
to
technically
do
he was in
matters, so
purgatory.
She did.
Maybe he's gonna be okay. Yeah.
Well, I at cons I see a lot of Aang cosplayers, right? And the ones that are really good, they show me the scar on the back, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we did that. I forgot we
Basically killed
we
Aang.
got him good with that one, huh?
Oh.
I forget about that.
Yeah, I kind of forget about it too. And it was actually when I was rewatching.
Yeah, the Avatar universe
The
has them
Awakening
stressed. That's right,
for,
missing.
I don't know, the 4th or 5th time just in the last year or so. When Sokka says, "Welcome back to the land of the living,"
Hey, good to see you back with the living, buddy.
like I had sort of skimmed past that in my mind, and then for some reason this last watch I watched and I was like, "That's so macabre!" Like classic Sokka being like, "Hey, dead guy, how you doing? Welcome back to where we've been." Are
Janet is
you?
so cool.
We're
I really like
dead
Janet.
and unconscious.
Very good person.
So I think that's why I wanted to make sure we pointed that out because, like, for some reason, it's often Sokka who, in his like tactless way, is the character that reminds me of like the grim reality of the situation sometimes in
Right.
episodes.
Was there any pushback from the studio at the time? We're like, hey, we're gonna kill the kid. Huh?
I mean,
Good
it's like a
question.
video,
Yeah.
it's like a video game death. I mean, you've got like, like Mike said, Katara had the healing water, so it's
Right.
like he died, he came right back.
He had extra life. He had extra life.
He had an extra life. He was resuscitated. He had a save.
But it's also one of those things that rewards you with a rewatch, right? Which is true of so much of Avatar, which is that when you're doing a rewatch and you're watching that moment with Zuko and
Hey, at least they
Katara, where
established the
she's
magic
got
water
that
in season
water
1,
and
though,
is sort
Ethan.
of, they're sort of looking contemplatively at Zuko's scar. You have the
Yeah,
reward
Janet
of,
is such a vibe.
God, he doesn't.
Like of
it's
everybody
okay,
here,
he
like I
doesn't
want to hang out with
repair his
Janet.
scar with that healing water.
I know.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the characters that we meet for the first time, or that we get to know a little bit better if we've been Easter egged them, like
He
Ryan
had a
Turtle.
Phoenix down. Like, well played.
But or Ozai, for
Aang
example,
did have
where
a Phoenix
we
down.
actually see Ozai for the first time. I think maybe we sort of touched on this in season 2.
Shout out to
but
Master Pocket.
what was that conversation like when we just weren't seeing Ozai clearly right in front of us until this moment that happens at the beginning?
Ooh,
of
this is gonna
book
be different
3?
from Netflix, so let's see
I
the
mean,
reason.
I think early on we just wanted to have like the intrigue of who is this guy. He was supposed to be the big bad that we weren't gonna. Aang was never gonna face him in the first 2 books, so we were trying to build that mystery around him and stuff.
I think they did a better job with
in
Amon's mystery,
retrospect,
personally.
maybe it would have
I
been.
know that's like
interesting to meet him
sacrilege,
earlier. I don't
but I
know.
think
But
Amon's intrigue
anyway, this was the
was more
moment of,
impactful to me than
Zuko
Ozai's
finally
was.
comes home, and we thought, well, that's the place to finally show him in his full splendor in the throne room. So
Oh, and it sucks. I haven't heard them talk about the Netflix adaptation at all, because I'm sure they would love to like shout out Daniel Day Kim. You know what I mean? Because like Daniel Day Kim is perfect as Ozai,
Welcome home.
and they're kind of hush hush on the
Yeah, I
Netflix
remember
adaptation
it was-
because
I think the idea came out of
they
the
had a bad
writers'
breakup.
room. Like there was this idea to hide him, and then I think we thought, oh, he's gonna look like Zuko unscarred, and we wanted to like save that. And then in the end, it was kind of like it's animation, so it's hard to make. I don't know. It just didn't have the impact we thought it was going to. It was just like, hey, there he is. He's a guy, and he has long hair and a really long like goatee or something. It was okay.
It had the impact on
Yeah,
me
yeah,
when
I
walked into
agree,
the booth
Junior.
and
I
it
like
was
that
Mark Hamill.
Ozai was
It had
attractive.
the
who,
heavy
who
impact
looks
on me.
who looks a little different. He's but-
Yeah.
It's a little different. I was like, but it was like Mark's gonna play Ozai. I'm like, sure, Mark. Andrea Romano's like, yeah, Mark's gonna come play. And then it's Mark Hamill walks in the room, and I'm like,
Luke
Huh?
Skywalker.
that's Mark Hamill. It was crazy. I was like, I kept my cool, of course,
Of course, you're Dante
but it was a
Mosco.
crazy experience. I was like, what is going on right now? And then we're saying like Star Wars lines to each other, like Luke and Vader kind of talk. He's like telling me stuff. I'm like, this is so weird.
I would not be able to
This
keep
is
it
so
together
weird.
if
Like a Darth
Mark
Vader
Hamill
right
walked
now
into the
to
booth
me.
with me.
Mark Hamill, you're crazy. It was wild.
I would
I
never
love
be able to do that.
Yeah, I love
I would
that,
geek out
that
immediately.
you didn't show his face, and I think I understand.
Yes,
what
I
you're
agree,
saying,
Junior. I
because
do prefer
if this were
horror villains to
Game of Thrones or whatever, insert
To Airbender.
popular show here where we see a character in the shadows and it's live action. That's the moment where you reveal like it's been Marlon Brando this whole time. I can't believe you got
Right.
Orson Welles to play this
he
character.
did.
I never knew.
And he
So
got
I
him.
understand the sort of like stunt casting reveal that you're not getting with the animation, but I think what you just said is actually quite wonderful because this is such Zuko's story alongside Aang and the rest of the gang's story, but it's really also Zuko's story in a huge way. And so the idea that we don't get to see his
Yeah,
father's
I
face
agree.
until he does, I think is really powerful. So I think
Lord,
that in and of
I
itself
hope that
is kind of amazing
Riker keeps
because
taking
we
care of
also know
themselves.
Aang
Because every
doesn't.
time I
So
do see them
we're
on
along with
screen, they
them for
always
their
look like
experience. And so
all
that the
energy is
impact,
just
I
gone
think,
from
just
them.
like you were saying, Dante, you feel the impact of it in the character's experience, which is great because that creates
I
that
wonder if
sort
they
of
have anyone who they
empathetic
trust.
response that we have to Zuko, and
that
it's one
can
of the reasons why people
take the
feel
load
so
off.
much like they're on his journey as much as Aang's, if not more so for some people, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that's the end of his banishment. And so it sort of brings you, yeah, like you said, it's his first time seeing his dad since he was banished, which has been years by this point. So, yeah, I don't think it was like a mistake. I think that our original thought of the impact it would have, it didn't have that impact, but it wasn't necessarily a bad choice. It was just sort of like, okay. You know?
Yeah.
But
He's also very
also kinda
handsome.
like
Like,
that when
he's
you-
not
yeah,
maniacal.
It's funny because that's exactly
You
how
know
I
what
feel
mean?
about
Yeah,
the
you're
Ozai
like, oh, he's a
reveal. Is
very
how they feel about the
attractive
Ozai. I know
young
the fan
father.
base
Like,
is like,
he's
oh
not-
my god,
he
such a
doesn't
great
have
like
this sort of,
a reveal
like,
and twist.
wrinkly,
And
you
for me, I
know,
was like, oh yeah, he's just
always
the
his
guy.
eyebrows,
I'm like-
his brows furrowed, you know.
I was like, how much older is Iroh than Ozai here? What's going on? Uncle Iroh's a little older.
We always say he's about 10 years older, but also Iroh lived through the war.
True.
And I mean, I don't know, all my friends, like we just lived through a pandemic and we all aged quite a bit. I'm imagining living through
The
decades
greats
of
came
war on the front lines. Like I think that might have aged Iroh quite a bit. So
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if Ozai had some sort of weird, like, hyperbolic chamber.
Have you guys noticed that
that
Brian
goes
talks
into-
more than Mike?
to
He has a
preserve
skincare
the
most of these
environment.
things?
yeah,
Yeah.
he's
He's
got a
got a
skincare
regimen.
routine, and a lot of you have been asking about it, and he would love to. show you.
The new Fire Nation line.
Yeah, 10
coming
years older
out,
makes
and it's
sense. I
gonna
agree
be
with that.
fire. It's hot.
That's
It's gonna
right.
be
That's
spicy.
right. In terms of stylistically, what you were looking at, we talked together at the beginning of book 2 when we were getting ready to dive into that. We talked about the trip that the two of you took and how much that informed, the Forbidden City and when we were getting to know Ba Sing Se and the design of that. And we really talked about that, not just with you, but with other people on the show.
So it makes like Ozai like
through
45
our
and
last
Iroh like
season.
55.
And then here we have this exposure
Sounds
to
about right.
the Fire Nation and the sort of central point that's inside this volcano, right? This volcano bed. And Brian, you took a trip before season 3 too that kind of inspired some of that, right?
Yeah, for book 2, Mike and I had the chance to go to Beijing, which was awesome. And, it was a whirlwind trip, but we got to see a lot of cool architecture and take our own photo reference and buy some reference books. And so I was taking a vacation to Iceland for the first time in summer 2006. But my idea of a vacation is generally to like go on some adventure, and I love doing like landscape photography. So
Oh,
I
that's
was
cool.
just taking a bunch of photos, and all those ended up being like feeding directly into what we ended up making the Fire Nation look like. Because Iceland, obviously, it's very far north, which is different than our kind of equatorial archipelago of the Fire Nation. But at the end of the day, it's a young piece of geology. It's this volcanic island, and
Oh, that's really
and,
cool. I can
if
see
you've ever
that.
been there, it strikes you at least around the coast, like it really looks. A lot of it kind of looks like Hawaii. It's very
Wow.
green, and there are these waterfalls everywhere. And then in the interior of the country,
Sokka's master.
sometimes called the Highlands or whatever, it's like volcanic. They're not technically deserts, I don't think, but they look like deserts, and it's like black sand, like expanses of,
Iceland?
the wastelands are, and there's basalt rock formations, and then this really verdant green like moss, and again just waterfalls everywhere. So it was super inspiring.
That's cool. I didn't know
It's
that
very
Iceland inspired the
intense,
Fire Nation like that.
dramatic landscape, and that seemed good for the Fire Nation. It's a very like, again, it's a very young piece of like geology, so it's kind of violent. You look and you're like, oh, this is where the earth ripped open and a bunch of magma poured out,
Which makes
and
sense
then
for
it
Fire
cooled
Nation.
off,
Yep.
and it hit some water and it formed basalt, and then you really see, because it is so young, like how it formed. I mean, you feel like you're in like the Land Before Time or whatever. It feels very primordial. So that all felt really appropriate for the Fire Nation. And we put like specific locations in that were real, like there's this
I think that's
volcanic
why
crater
their landscapes
event
look so good in the
thing
show
called
because they're based on
Festival of
reality,
Heat,
right? Because it
and
feels
it smells terrible.
not
but
too
everybody
otherworldly.
hikes down and swims in the water, which is supposed to be good for your skin. But
Warm
it-
water.
it was not as warm as advertised for a volcanic event. I remember being
Not a
quite
hot
cold.
spring.
And it
'Cause that's
we-
where,
I had
Combustion Man
to
attacks
throw
Team
out my
Avatar,
bathing
yeah?
suit because it just smelled like sulfur so bad. Like
Oh
I
my
could
goodness.
not get it out. But that was where Combustion Man attacked.
Oh, yep, just said it.
um,
And by the way,
Team
guys,
Avatar,
Combustion
and,
Man,
You know, it was just
he'll
like
be
the-
giving
I
me
just-
shit about calling
you're,
not
like,
calling him
on
Sparky
another
Sparky
planet,
Boom
you
Man.
know, it's just a
Combustion Man
wild
is his
looking
name.
place. So I was like,
It's his canon
let's just
name.
use this crater. And so yeah, Iceland.
This is Iceland. Dumb question. Is there ice?
Yeah,
Nice.
there are glaciers. There's a lot.
Okay, cool.
There are glaciers.
I don't know. I mean, I don't
It's
know.
a fair
People
question.
might want to know. I
There's
want
a-
to know.
But like that place is so wild that they have mountains. There's this thing, I forget the Icelandic name, but they call it the Queen Mountain, I think. And it's like there was this huge
Mike
thick
clearly
glacier,
doesn't want to be here.
and
Well, we
on top
don't
of
know.
this
He
big
just hasn't
flat
like
plain
spoken up
of,
yet.
like,
That's
volcanic
always been the
rock, I
case, though. I
think.
feel like he's never
And
been
then
like the talker.
This volcano erupts
group.
under the glacier, blows this huge hole in this really deep glacier, fills up with lava, and then the glacier moves away. You know, like goes away, and then so it's like a cake mold mountain, and so
This
it's
is
just sitting
crazy.
in the middle of this desert, and then the sides
I'm really
are
hungry right
soft.
now.
They end up kind of just like
You just missed them talking
crumbling
about a
into
few
slopes,
things.
and it's
How
when you're
Iceland
driving
inspired
in the
Fire
wastelands, there's
Nation
just, like, nothing.
landscape, which is really
And then all
cool.
of a sudden there's just this mountain just sitting there, and it's like a cake mold. So there's a bunch. This is why geologists like love Iceland. There's just a bunch of like really
Yeah, I agree with that missing. The
wild
more they're talking, the
formations
more
and stuff
relaxed
there,
he's
so.
getting.
You know, it's true that when you are
Actually-
a person who engages with the Avatarverse on a regular basis,
I can
you
sympathize
start
with
to
that 'cause
notice
I'm
stuff
similar
like that in a
sometimes with
different context. Like
social
Dante and I
situations.
did a
I need to,
con
like,
in
ease into it.
Colorado, and we went to Garden
Can't
of the
just- I
Gods.
can't just
and it's
turn it
that-
on,
The
you know?
first thought I had, like I filter everything through Avatar now, for better or for worse. Like the first thought I had was like, it really looks like some Earthbenders were up to like some shenanigans around
Yes.
here. Like you really see it through the lens of how we as
Man,
humans engaging
Mike's
with this
room is so
landscape?
clean.
How are we having
Totally.
conversations within? How are we forming it and creating it? And again, like, you know, there's ways to do that are much more about like what bending would be if we were having those impacts, and then the things we don't
Isn't
think
the
about
Fire
are the
Nation made
ways in
up
which
of
we're
multiple
impacting it
volcanoes or islands?
less
Yes.
directly and possibly for the worse. So I think the
Yeah.
Avatarverse also kind of
Very
keeps
similar to
you
Hawaii.
checking in with that stuff, ideally, and
If
hopefully
I had a
we have
friend that could talk for me,
nothing
I
but
would love
fans
that.
who are concerned
don't
with
like talking
keeping
like
the world
this.
going and protecting it,
But I
and,
like being
you know,
there.
trying to back out
And that's
of
basically
some of
Mike.
the damage that we've done. But I don't want to go super negative, but that is something that crosses my mind. Do you guys have standout episode favorites from book 3?
Puppet Master,
I
probably.
mean, book 3 has, I would say, the most of my favorites in it.
Yeah, I also agree.
Hey.
The highest
Combustion
highs
Man is
are-
awesome.
are there.
Um,
Combustion Man. See, there it is
The
again.
Avatar and the Fire Lord episode, just like
Oh, the Avatar and the Fire Lord is a good
world-building
one.
wise, was like,
I also
you
like,
know, really
Nightmares and
meaty
Daydreams.
Lots of
That was a good
cool
one.
stuff that all the writers had put in there to, bolster like the backstory of Sozin and Ozai and that whole history.
It's a really
Um,
ambitious story to tell in one episode, right?
Yeah, there's a lot in there. Definitely.
In a great
There was
way.
a point where we were like, should this be 2 parts? But it was like, we only had a limited number of episodes. So it was like, we had all this other stuff we wanted to get to.
I mean, we like our Roku stories.
Obviously, Ember Island Players is one of
Totally.
the-
Ember Island Paris is
on
cool.
the other end of the spectrum of like hilarious.
It's not one of my
wacky
favorite
sort of
favorites, but like I
episode
like
or
it.
Version of Eclipse episode that,
Best
just-
ever. One of the best concepts.
yeah, it was
ever.
like a wild.
It was a
concept, but
good
totally worked great
spin on the
And
clip
then the
episode,
finale,
for sure.
there's some great, tons of great stuff in the finale. Especially Joaquim Dos Santos directed the last 2 parts, and it is like a movie. Like I remember we got to watch it at Paramount for like the kind of wrap premiere party, or I forget
Yeah.
which party it was, but it was, crew, cast, everyone came and got to see it on the big screen, and it felt like a big movie.
Hey,
experience.
Avatar Naruto Universe YouTube.
Yes, that's the
Hello.
answer for where was I when I watched. So that was it.
I mean, The Last Agni Kai is-
Yeah, yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah, it was a big
I
laugh
think
party. It was
it's
fun.
better than Aang versus
yeah, I think
Ozai,
the headband
to be honest.
is another one. I love all the ones.
headband.
Mike
Ah, the headband. I like the
said,
headband
but-
too.
and-
That's one of my
and,
favorites as well.
Yeah, we were just talking about this. It's like the kind of like the filler episode controversy, but it's funny when I look back, some of the like filler episodes are some of my favorites, and I
Yep.
think it's because it's
Filler.
a chance to
I agree.
let a character, like if they're done well, it's a chance to like let the character's personality take a spin, and you get to see
1000%
them
agree.
in some circumstance. And I think like for me it was like because Aang had his culture, like it's a light funny episode, but like here's a dark spin on it. It's like Aang had his culture like ripped away from him, and he kind of had that experience taken away from him.
Yeah, Janet and Dante
by
are in the
fire
chat right
culture, but here he was in the fire culture, like getting to have that experience. And Dante was was joking at the beginning, like it's some good people in the Fire Nation. There are, these
There
are just
are,
these are just
yeah.
innocent kids who are being fed propaganda and being spoon
They did a
fed
really good job with this show.
manufactured worldview.
Like,
And they didn't know,
doing all these like
and,
heavy topics in this show.
And I
you
liked
know.
seeing that side of the Fire Nation. So again, it's like, yeah,
Yeah, Jenna, I agree. Like, I don't
filler
really
maybe,
see them
but-
as filler episodes in
Technically
Avatar,
filler,
honestly.
No, I don't care for this.
I don't know, but
Because it's important
really
context for the
enriched-
characters, so
I
you
thought
care
it
about what happens to them in the
enriched,
finale.
Yes.
You know,
the sort of read on the Fire Nation and just our characters, and there's just hilarious stuff in
Yeah,
it,
and to see
really good
everybody that
animation. Yeah.
see the gang in the Fire Nation fashion.
oh, of course, the beach
Not bad.
episode
I
is
mean, looking
great.
good in those Fire
That's
Nation
technically a
fashion,
filler
you know?
episode too. You know,
Growing up, seeing
the
the
best.
Star Wars in the theater and just seeing Han and Luke in the stormtrooper uniforms, like there was just something
It's cool.
so cool.
Oh yeah, the
as
Boiling
seeing
Rock was in
your
season
heroes
3.
wearing
Yeah,
the villain
season 3 was the best, man.
outfits,
That's my
and I think
favorite.
that just
Cool.
burned into
all
my
time
brain,
favorite
and
season of
and it was
Avatar.
just you kind of have the Smurfette syndrome where animated characters wear the same thing every day. So it's nice when you get to like oh, we'll give them new outfits for this season or
Right.
something. Like it's just fun to refresh their looks
Mhm.
and stuff.
I'm gonna resist
Can I have
bringing
a
up how Tron can touch a person from the red side and become red instead of blue, because that's not where
I
you're
mean,
not
Tron.
where you're going. But again,
Shout out to
I
Tron.
always
I
love
see it
Tron.
everywhere.
I'm always have to.
It's just the beginning of it's the
I
beginning
see
of the third
everywhere.
season. It's the first Tron reference.
I know.
Janet, first Tron reference, beginning
I
of
didn't
season
even have
3,
it
you
written
guys.
down.
First Tron reference from Janet Varney. Thank you.
I
But I would also like to give it
didn't have it
a
written
good
down.
shout out to the beach. To the beach.
Yes.
Oh, it's another great one.
People
Yeah.
love that beach episode, as do we. Oh,
Yeah, the beach is amazing.
love
I
the
can't wait.
beach.
To
Obviously.
That's
beach
again another
crazy.
chance to sort of humanize the Fire Nation characters and culture, and yeah, that was a fun one. But you all are reminding me that book 3, yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
There's some
book
good
3 is
episodes.
freaking good, man.
Yes!
It's so good.
It's fire. It's fire. Book 3's fire, everybody.
It's
Just so you know.
fire.
It's
Book 3 is
fire.
in every way fire. Okay, so I'm reading the Avatar art book, you guys, and there is a page in which we see the palace. In the palace hall, we see paintings of past Fire Lords. In the book, you explain that you only had names for the final 3 that are pictured. We know Sozin, we know Azulon, we know Ozai. Did you guys ever name those first 2? Do you remember if do you know if
Oh
there
wow,
are
I don't even know
names
those
of,
two. Ooh, are we gonna know the names?
of those
I
first
think,
2?
I don't think we had names back then, but names are going to exist because
Okay.
we're expanding some of that stuff through the novels. And
Oh, okay, Roku, the Roku
and
novel,
that
obviously.
Sci-Fi
They're,
game
Okay.
may have some information too.
they're talking about
Okay,
the Roku
because
novel.
See,
we-
this is the thing.
Alright.
The,
Yeah.
the world building is getting so big that
Right.
I can't keep it all in my head. I'm like, I think maybe we have that name somewhere. and I have to go
True.
look it up.
Okay, there's something.
Z-centric.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I did play the RPG game, and I did play an Earthbender, and I named him Ezra.
Why Ezra?
Slap in the face to the Earth Nation. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Dante,
Ezra.
because
What does that have to do?
we
Ezra?
did-
What?
I did think we could pitch you some names. Now it sounds like maybe you
Okay,
guys
good.
have already named them, but if for
Go
some
for it.
Avatar does not have
reason
true
and you
filler, in my
feel
opinion. Yeah, I agree with
inspired,
that.
we
Hey, what's
do
going
have
on,
a
Benny?
couple of suggestions.
Well, Mike's
I'd
always
like
been
to pitch
quiet.
Zodiac,
He's always been a quiet guy.
as a name of one of the
Zodiac.
fire-
But I also think they're trying not to
Fire
get themselves in trouble, like with
you got
Zodiac.
anything,
describing
Dante?
certain things that might not even show up in
How
certain
do you know
things.
I
that
do
the
like-
Zodiac is
I-
also a horoscope?
Ozone. I do like Ozone because Ozone and Turbo from Breaking the Movie would play.
I know.
by
Finally, our
David
first nugget, right?
Shadidoo.
I
Yeah.
see that's what we're
Ozone.
waiting for. Some
Laser or or Blaze.
something about
Blaze
like,
of
oh hey, yeah, there are some
Blaze.
names
He's good.
for
Blaze.
some
He's good.
Azure,
Fire
it's
Lords.
like Azula, but Azure could be like the like upbeat counterpart to
Azure.
Azula.
I was gonna say
Azure.
Fire Lord Bob and Fire Lord Steve. I thought
Interesting.
those would be
Interesting.
pretty good.
Breaking
Quick
that
question:
mold.
in the future, even though Azula was only Fire Lord for like a hot second, is she gonna get a picture or no?
Oh,
Oh,
good
on the-
question.
On the
Because
wall.
obviously Zuko's gonna have a nice thing.
yeah, I
but there
don't
could be
think
a small 8x10 of Azula for like a hot second. A few
I think
days.
Zuko's doing some remodeling of the palace after he takes over. I don't know that those portraits are going to stay up.
Those
forever.
portraits don't stay up in the maybe in the library. Maybe in the library.
It's in,
Ugh.
it's in
Always.
like a supply closet. There's like a
Supply
little,
closet. 8x10 of Azula's reign
That's
for
really
a day.
nice. That's really nice. Can you tell us really quickly about, we meet Sokka's master in this season, and we don't stay with him forever, but he definitely makes an impression. He packs a punch. Can you tell us?
No, Azula never got
just a little
crowned.
bit about that
Correct.
character and
Coordination was
what real
interrupted by
person
Zuko.
That character was modeled off of on some level.
Yeah, I think we thought, Kisu had been such a big part of the martial arts development.
Oh, is
throughout,
Piandao
from
based on Kisu?
during
Oh, I did
development
not know
and
that.
then
That makes
throughout the
sense though.
series. So, thought we would
Oh,
visually model a
duh.
character after him.
How did I not know this?
Piandao was the sword master, and yeah, that was a fun episode too. It was neat to give Sokka an episode where he
I liked Sokka's master, but it wasn't like
sort of
my favorite.
revealed his
I liked it though.
his insecurities about being a non-bender.
What's your problem? You haven't even touched your smoked sea slug.
It's just all you guys can do this awesome bending stuff, like putting out forest fires and flying around and making other stuff fly around. I can't fly around, okay? I can't do anything.
It was cool to give Kisu not just a character, but a character who was going to be a teacher. Which obviously reflected like his role with me, like being his student throughout development, and then he's kind of teaching us.
Yeah, it's my first time
throughout-
hearing
Took
this
some
too.
classes
I had
also.
no idea
Shout out
that
to
he was
Sifu
based
Kisu. I was
on
in the park. Right, I was in the park right
based
there
on
off the
Kisu.
fountain.
Yeah.
Let's go, Sifu Kisu.
So yeah,
Sifu
so it was
Kisu.
fun.
Cool.
That extends all the way to his sword collection, right? Because that
I think I can't remember when we designed the sword. We might have been inspired by one of the
it
ones in
says
his
so
collection.
the art book, if that's helpful.
Yeah, I told you, Janet, we did that art book a long time ago.
See, this is the funny
so
thing
I don't
about
remember it.
fans and
But,
creators.
but then
Fans
someone
will
down the
obsess
road
over like
from
one line of
Nickelodeon
text
Animation Studios
and swear
made
by it.
that
And then the
sword
creators are like,
out
"Oh
of
yeah,
a
I wrote that
real
like 15
meteorite.
years ago. I don't remember what I was
And
thinking
it
that
was like
morning."
an
You know what I
episode, it
mean?
was
Like
like
I
a
just
web
wrote it because it needed to be filled.
YouTube
It
show, and we went after the
like
episode.
fans go crazy for like
we went and met him.
the little
and we checked out the
nines.
sword, and I was thinking like, oh, I'm going to buy the sword, and it was $10,000, so I did not buy the sword.
Whoa.
But I was like, I'm glad it exists.
Oh my goodness.
So we got to hold it. We took some pictures. It was very cool. But it was
Yeah, I love
actually
the anime
what was
references in
really
the beach
interesting,
episode
was
as well.
forged- the
It
blade
also
was
in
forged out of a meteorite.
Sokka's master
and it
as well.
looked like what we drew. It was like black with these sort of
Yeah.
these like swirly marks in it. And
Was it heavy? Was it? It was thin.
yeah,
it's a thin
it was
sword.
heavy. It was pretty heavy. Yeah,
Okay.
it was cool.
Wow, $10,000, you guys.
I know.
For it on
It's-
eBay.
when you create a world and then it grows away from you, that's the kind of financial shock you're gonna have when you find out.
What is that?
Yeah. I just to quickly talk about you mentioned the Avatar and the Fire Lord. Such a great episode. We feel that that sort
Yeah, I
of
might
tip
try
back
and
towards,
watch more of these
past avatars
podcasts
in
now.
book two
I
with
honestly didn't
Kyoshi.
really follow it.
And there
Maybe
we are in the Earth Kingdom. as
most of
we
book one,
kind of
but
learn
book
this,
two I didn't listen to at all.
interesting,
Really,
great stuff about Kyoshi. Of course, that's all been expanded with the novels.
the Kyoshi novels.
Looking backwards,
So
in
good.
book one, it's not like we feel the absence of it, but it did make me wonder, was there ever a conversation about like a Karuk episode? Like, because there happens to also be a recent waterbender.
True.
I don't know if that was something, we hear little hints about him in other places, but I was just wondering if there was ever a conversation about that back then.
Good question, Janet.
Not early on. I mean, the one little thing that we've been reminded about recently, between book 2 and 3, they needed like extra content for the web. This is before
right, the archives,
streaming or anything like that.
True.
So, Nickelodeon wanted to do something that they could put online, and so I wrote this it's like
Stephen Union was Avatar 1, yeah.
So it's like when
Super
he's
awesome.
unconscious, he has this like little trippy, experience through the spirit world where he meets or sees kind of like a little bit of the backstory of each of his past lives. And so that was the first time we actually like fleshed out Karuk at all. But he sees them all. So that was like the first time of like starting to delve more into the backstories. And then obviously I think we
see, guys, this is how creators work. They just create stuff when it needs to happen. They don't think about everything in every angle. The way that fans obsess over stuff is not the same way that the creators obsess over stuff.
I don't think I ever saw that. Is that available somewhere for people to see?
I bet if you check out YouTube, I think it's probably somebody put it up there. But I will say it was not animated in the show style. It was more like Flash animation style. It looks of the time, let's say.
Yeah.
It's kind of a motion comic, I think.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through a little bit of those laying the groundwork for the Lion Turtle?
By the way, congrats to Stephen Yeun recently for winning for for Beef as
we
a
thought
leading
about the
actor.
Lion Turtle. If you see the test pilot that we did in 2003, the version of the opening of that one, like the water, earth, fire, air thing, the background of
that is a lion turtle.
maybe the Airbender, I can't remember which one, was a giant lion turtle statue.
Yeah, he's there.
And so Mike and I, that was early. That was when it was just the two of us. And we were on a trip to Seoul, South Korea, to find animation studios.
Yeah. Anytime there's an interview episode, I always listen to it. Like anytime Bryke is in,
we saw this really cool.
I love listening
like turtle statue
to their minds,
and it had this huge like sort of monolith coming out of its back, and we're like, man, that'd be a cool creature. And there's all these great lion statues.
Man, Beef is a good show, guys.
We were doing our
definitely different from Avatar, but it's a good show if you want to get into
we
something.
had the idea of it
raw.
I again, like Mike said, I don't remember everything that's in that Bible, like the old series Bible, but we might have had some mentions of that, or that Aang would learn some technique or something. It's possible. I would have to look back.
Well, we definitely, we planted his image in there, even in I think in the library episode.
Yeah, book 2
finds that image, and so like it was always there, and it was like, how do we seed it so it's not totally out of nowhere?
Yeah, it's still kind of out of nowhere though. They could have seeded it a little bit more.
I guess spoiling the, he had to learn it at the right time, and he wasn't ready yet.
We knew more or less what we were driving towards very early on. So but like Mike said, I'm sure there were discussions of different things, but at no point was Aang going to kill him. So I think we do, and that was like the whole debate. Everybody wanted him to, including his past lives, and so it was just him sticking to his code. And like Aang's monk code, like in the Blue Spirit episode, like he gets a spear from one of the soldiers and he breaks the blade off before he runs and uses it, because he won't use a bladed weapon.
Oh, I never really noticed that before.
He really lives by this code, and I'm often in meetings like, Aang is a monk. Like this is,
he would not kill.
He is a monk. He believes this stuff. He lives by these things. So
this is what happens when I'm at a con and people chide me for Korra being too violent, because they keep thinking of Aang and his monk code.
Honestly, I'm way more in line with Korra. I'm way in line with Korra. In terms of how to deal with bad guys.
About their origin story.
Sometimes it feels a little bit too much fantasy that Aang is so pacifist.
I don't remember anything. I'm like, where did I mean, I feel like John O'Brien wrote that episode, so I'm sure some of that was like stuff we came up with in the, that writing retreat, and ideas of like them finding a lost culture and how
Oh, there's some
dragons were
warriors.
involved.
Oh,
and
that's a
how
really
that could be part of
interesting thing to me
Aang's,
as well.
like, journey to, learning firebending and stuff like that. But like, look, this was 20 years ago, people. No, I don't remember everything.
You guys,
feel like-
I mean, obviously you have a different experience because you guys were creating the whole time, but just as an actor in it, and I'm watching it over again for the podcast, and I'm seeing myself, hearing myself say lines, and it feels like a dream of
Right, you
something
know-
that happened.
Wow.
And you're like, it's a good dream, but I'm like, oh, I remember this, kind of remember this. Like, what?
I know,
It's
that was
just
like-
a
That's
weird
cool.
feeling. It's in
Well,
you,
that
but it's
was-
like not.
Like probably 2 hours of your life, and you're like, why would you remember a random 2
Right,
hours
right.
of your life?
I
But
think
it's this
the
thing, is this whole
Mayans.
story. It's like a weird dream in my mind.
Yeah.
Can you guys talk a little bit about the design of the Western Air Temple?
Well, I mean, I don't know if this was directly from that, but Brian took that trip to Iceland. In 2007, I went to Bhutan, this little
Yes.
Buddhist country, near
Bhutan.
India.
While you're
and
here,
China,
just wondering,
and,
choose the element. Water.
they have this place.
Everybody
called
vote water
Tiger's Nest,
in the
which
chat.
Is like a real life
Water.
air temple. If you ever
Wow.
are able to go there, it's this really long hike, this steep mountain. It's the only way to get there. There's no like cars to bring you up. I mean, I guess you could ride a donkey, but we did not ride a donkey. And you get up there, and it's like a air temple built
I
on the
forget
side of a cliff.
why
quite
it's upside
wild.
down. I know
And,
it's mentioned in the Young
so
Chin
that
novels.
was cool. I
but
mean, that just
forget.
kind of generally informed Air Nation stuff, and then I think when we got to the Western Air Temple, we were just trying to, like what's a version of an air temple that's not going to look like the other ones. And I don't know, Brian, you might remember design wise how you guys came up with it, but I don't.
I don't remember whose idea it was, but yeah, I think it was just the idea that air nomads tried to build their temples in hard to reach places, and
Oh, I
that
thought
they
it was in
wouldn't
harmony
really-
with the area,
because
but yeah, okay.
Such we've always said it was like 99.9% of their very small population, but were benders, so they had per capita way, just like way more benders than the other cultures.
Oh, that does make
they
sense,
would
yeah.
be able to live in a place like this, where these buildings were upside down and were hanging off cliffs. But yeah, I maybe I came up with it. Maybe one of the writers did. I have no.
I
idea.
can see how the new
But
version of
it was
Airbenders there
fun
wouldn't
to
be as
design.
many because
it was tough.
they're less monks, right?
But it was cool,
And more just
it
like
made
kind of normal
for,
people in Republic City,
an exciting location with the Combustion Man showdown. So it was fun.
Yeah. Perfect answer. Okay, I'm going to
Did
ask
we
this
ever get
very
an
quickly.
answer on why the two dragon
'cause
masters
it's
were so much
fascinating,
bigger
and
than the
I
other
don't know if you're
dragons?
going to have an answer at all.
Or was
but,
it just
um,
age? Oh yeah, I don't know the
yes,
answer
you
to
would
that.
if not,
I'm not
but-
sure.
Jessica.carry.art on Instagram says, have you guys heard the theory about Hama being the reason Kaya was killed? Hama escaped the Fire Nation prison, and the Southern Raiders, it was mentioned they had a source who advised there was a waterbender in the Southern Water Tribe. The prison would have assumed she fled back home to the Southern Tribe, and they would have been looking for an adult. Have you guys heard that? Or is that is there anything canon about that? Because it's a fascinating theory.
I
have
like
not
that
heard
question.
theory before.
Oh,
So-
that means it's not true then.
But yeah, I think that is firmly a fan theory.
Copy that.
Fan
Copy that.
theory. Well, there it
let's
is.
See here. We have a question from Patra.
They really don't spend that much time online. It seems like they don't really
Panachia? I'm
know a
probably
lot
saying
of
that
this stuff
wrong.
until it
Hello,
comes
Mike,
up like
Brian,
this.
Janet, and Dante. Which character dynamics or relationships were your favorite to see develop in season 3?
Probably Zuko and Katara, honestly.
This will be controversial, but the Aang Katara relationship got to blossom
Oh,
to its full potential in season
it felt forced. It always felt forced to
Great
me.
answer. And yeah,
That's a great answer.
guess what? Canon controversy.
Canon
Yeah,
controversy.
Everyone knows I ship Zutara, but I mean, watching right now, Zuko and May, I'm
That's a good one.
I'm
too, yeah.
vibing. I'm not gonna lie, you guys. I'm vibing out there. I'm vibing.
Yeah, we come in real early with that smooch with Zuko and May. And
I know.
Oh, yeah,
I
that's like
was just
second
kinda
episode.
Like smooching real quick. I was
First or
like, dang,
second.
May, like it's like that already. What's happening
yeah,
right
that's
now?
right. That's right. We think we talked a little bit about this, but I just want to shout out Saper Diarty, who says, might be a loaded question, but I was wondering, what was the most challenging scene to complete for book 3?
Challenging scene, probably Agni Kai,
And
I
that
would
can
think.
kind of
For
come from
me-
any angle. Yeah, go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
Yeah, for me, I storyboarded the light battle between
The light battle.
Ozai and Aang, and
Right.
I
The
remember
taking the bending
in
away.
the writers' room, Mike, Aaron, and I talking about it and talking about like, I think I was like, well, what if their souls flipped inside out? Because we
Yeah.
knew we wanted Aang to take his bending away, but we didn't want it to just be this like Vulcan death pinch and then it's over. We needed it to be dramatic, and so we were, the three of us were talking about, I think, like thematically the same thing, but it was like, okay, but how do we visualize that? And I was like, just trust me, I've got an idea. Like I have an idea, but it was something I couldn't really describe very well. But
That's why you're a
storyboarded it,
visual
but I
person,
had to
yeah.
storyboard it in color.
Yep. You had to.
In order for it to be clear. And storyboards are generally, most people don't even include lighting, let alone color.
hmm
But I'm always thinking about lighting and just from my
And that's
painting
true. Avatar has a
background.
lot
So,
of good light moments,
So yeah, it was just something I had
which is very important.
to draw and sort of color to make it clear, and it was hard for me. I think it was one of the first things I storyboarded digitally on a Cintiq.
Oh, that's cool.
And then I was like, this is going to be impossible to animate. And like JM Animation I don't think we had a single retake on that sequence. Like, it just came
Wow.
back exactly like we were hoping, and
That's really
we were
dope.
really, really
That's
lucky.
really
And then
killer.
Jeremy's score just brings it to life. I mean, you can feel the tension and the struggle, because it's a hard thing. It's like two people's souls, they're not moving, but their souls are sort of battling. And
I know it
I
gets his
think,
characters, but killing Ozai would have been
Jeremy
interesting.
really,
Yeah, no, for a
JM
different
Animation
character, I
and
would say it's
Jeremy
interesting.
really, like,
I
put
think
that
for
over the edge,
Aang,
but
not
that
killing
was
Ozai
definitely
is
the hardest
huge.
one for me. But
It's a
one of the few
huge
scenes
moment
I storyboarded
for
in
Aang
book
specifically.
3, so.
Now, if it's a
Mike, anything jump
Korra
out for you?
situation,
I mean, all the finale stuff.
it's different. But for
was
Aang,
insane.
that was
Like,
the proper way to
action,
end
and then
his story.
I know, the animators animating, our friend Jamie Young animating lots of the fire, and other animators, like the effects of that finale were just, they were intense. So,
Well, it paid off. Guys, we're going to let you go. We're gonna let you get
No,
back to
ask
building
them more
Avatarverse.
questions.
Thank you so much for helping us kick off book 3 of Brave in the Elements.
Ask more
Always good to see you
questions.
guys.
We want to know
Thanks for
more.
having us. It was fun.
see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
They
for
could
joining
say
us.
so
We
little.
love
They
your
say
perspective. We
so
love your
little.
insight. Thanks for taking the time, and thanks.
I
to
got
all
kind of
of
scared
you
though.
for
Like
coming back
earlier,
and joining us for our first
earlier in the
episode back.
sequence, they were talking
What?
about, yeah, I'm not sure what
I
things
was
are
like
coming
raising
out
the
or
roof.
what.
I
Like,
don't know
it's
what
like,
was
wait, no,
happening.
talk about the
The
October
important thing is we're
25th,
all back. We're all
2025
together,
date that you guys
and we will
announced.
talk to you next week.
Why
Right
isn't
after we
that
turn
being
off
talked
the
about
lights,
more?
tell
Like
us
what?
all
Excuse
about
me?
what's happening in Avatar.
Excuse me? What?
Not. Tell everybody we don't know anything. You guys, we don't know anything.
Hey, I believe that they don't know anything. Dante
I
and
just
Janet
want
know
to give
nothing.
a few shout outs to some of our dear friends on social media. We asked them what some of their
All
favorite
right, we're gonna talk
episodes
about
were.
some of the
I'm gonna
extra
shout out,
content that didn't make it
hey,
into the main
Elizabeth, hope
episode.
E is
We're gonna
free.
talk about that in a second, guys.
She says the
After this
beach
is over.
obs, but there are so many great episodes in this book. I love Sokka's master and did a whole college project on this episode.
And killing
Specifically,
Ozai would have
but
felt
Sokka's
like he
character
proved
arc here
Ozai right,
is
exactly, about the air
insane.
nomads
Love
and their
that.
beliefs
Patra,
not belonging in the
you
world.
are
Yeah,
representing
exactly.
many
Not gonna
people
lie, I
when you
think they
say
should
the
have
Painted
brought the
Lady
lion
is
turtle a lot
favorite of
earlier, so it
yours.
didn't feel so
Patra
given
says
to Aang. I
great,
agree, Kevin.
specifically because of
And
the
they
message in
try
the
to say that
episode
they did it,
regards
which they
to
did
pollution
in
and
book 2, the
spirituality.
library
Katara goes
episode.
out of her way to help this village
They
in
showed
need by
it,
cleaning up the water. In doing so, she helped
but
the
not
village,
enough.
but
I
also
think.
helped to free a
You
spirit
know.
whose home had also been destroyed. Beautiful
Yeah,
sentiment.
they're really busy and
Couldn't
tired,
agree
but it's
more.
like, man, we
I
couldn't get
want
like a
to
little
shout out
something,
Courtney
something
Red,
more.
who says, Janet, it's so rude to make us pick one. I'm going to let that slide. But if I must, overall, it's Ember Island Players because I
Okay, they're
find
just
that
talking about
any
people's
show that
favorite
can make fun
favorite
of
episodes.
itself
So
so
yeah, we're
well
gonna go
just proves
to
how
we're gonna
incredible
do
it
some little
is
extra
in
credit
every
here,
single
guys.
way. I
Some extra
couldn't
credit. So there is another episode that is behind a paywall that I mentioned earlier in the stream that I'm going to have us listen to now. One of our few ever confirmations of Chi Fields. right, so here's audio. It asks how terrifying powerful Amon actually was. To be able to bend through the living energy inside a person's body and manipulate them with your mind, his bloodline really is one of a kind. Okay, so here we go, guys. Prepare yourselves for this revelation, because it's going to stir up a little bit of conversation between us here. So as you guys know, we're really into deep lore here in the Avatar world. Antoine Bandelet, you know. And there has been a quote that came out recently. So let's go ahead and listen to it real quick.
Make it difficult. You couldn't. But the idea was that a person's chi field would sort of make it difficult.
Keep that in mind, guys. Chi field. Keep that term in mind, because it's very important for like the lore of Avatar. Chi field.
A person's chi field would sort of make it difficult. You couldn't just bend it as if it were a glass of water on the table. Like there's a living energy field around that water and throughout it that would make it difficult. So wanted it to be an elite. We thought, oh, that'd be a really cool technique, but it should be really limited, or else waterbenders could just dominate, you know. And
I'm glad that they have this in mind, but I wish they did a better job of explaining that within the context of the show. Because a lot of us fans kind of figured that this is how bloodbending worked. Like it couldn't just simply be just water on its own, right? Because then you can easily manipulate anything and anyone at any one time. But for them to say that they have to penetrate, like a bloodbender isn't just penetrating the water in your body. They first have to surpass the chi field within you before they can even, you know, actually manipulate you through waterbending via, you know, bloodbending. That's super important. Like that's an important detail that they kind of just like leave out of the context of the show. And we have to assume it or wait for something like this, like wait for a podcast years later for them to explain it. But I wanted to talk about this because it opens up a can of worms for a lot of different things, you know. If the fact that they are people like Amon and Yakone are penetrating people's chi fields before getting to the water in their body means that they are incredibly powerful, like even more powerful than I think we already thought they were. Like we already knew that they were like the most powerful benders, you know, can take out pretty much anyone. But the fact that they aren't just doing water bending in the body, they're actually penetrating people's chi. Including the avatars. Remember, Yakone was manipulating an entire courtroom that included very powerful benders like Toph, like Avatar Aang. Means that they're even more powerful than we ever thought of before, which is insane. You said it in the Discord already, but damn, they really did just make Amon and Yakone the most OP benders. Yes, like that's the reason why they killed off Amon at the end of that series. Is because you made him too goddamn powerful. Like, for you to say that it's not just waterbending and that it's actually a chi pass that they're actually breaching is insane. Like, that's a whole other situation, you know? Super, super crazy. Hey, what's going on? Hellraiser, but Hellraiser, I guess. Who's joining here after the podcast just ended? Press 1. That's actually crazy. What paywall is that behind? Where can you find it? So, if you have the Braving Elements podcast on any platform, but I believe specifically Apple Podcasts, there is a premium version that you can buy that has bonus episodes or bonus interviews. And in this was one of these interviews with Mike and Brian, which thankfully one of our Discord members was able to extract and share with us. One of those being the fact that, here, I'll play it again. I'll play the sequence one more time so you guys can hear it.
Person's chi, that the idea was that,
and to give you context, he's talking about bloodbenders and how bloodbending works.
That the idea was that a person's chi field would sort of make it difficult. You couldn't just bend it as if it were a glass of water on the table. Like there's a living energy field around that water and throughout it that would make it difficult. So wanted it to be an elite. We thought, oh, that'd be a really cool technique, but it should be really limited, or else waterbenders could just dominate, you know. And
Yeah. As Ice Teaser is saying in the chat, that is a huge shift in power scaling because it's not just a water bending ability at that point. It is a chi ability at that point. Like it's a lot deeper. I actually think that can almost break some of the world building. Like I know that they were saying that as a way to explain themselves, but it actually kind of it makes the Amon and Yakone like incredibly powerful. That they're penetrating the chi fields of like Avatar level characters, you know. But I will say that it does make more sense for why Korra could negate Amon's power in the end, right? Because it makes more sense, at least in my head, that a bender or that it would be very difficult to bloodbend an Avatar character. Now we were just saying that based on like, oh well, Avatar State, obviously, like Avatar State is kind of like the cheat codes for everything. But if it's also just about the spiritual chi energy within you, then you could have it be a case where, yes, like technically speaking, a character like Toph could be able to resist bloodbending because they aren't just penetrating the water in her body; they're first penetrating her actual chi levels. And Toph, or like a Boomy, like a King Boomy, have, we can assume, very high chi levels to be able to do the sorts of things that they're able to do with their bending. And I kind of like that idea because it means that it's not just waterbenders who can resist bloodbenders. What they need to do is they just need to scale it back. They just can't have freaking Amon level and Yakone level bloodbenders happening all the time. I think it's cool to have bloodbenders in the space, but just make them weaker versions of bloodbenders. They just can't bend everybody, right? They can maybe bend like, you know, a few metal benders or like, you know, a few lower level benders, but they just can't bend everybody, right? And I like that idea because if it is this idea that it's a chi field that they're penetrating, then that means that, like I said before, other benders can resist bloodbenders besides just water benders. So it could go either way. It could be that this is really ridiculous and they just made it a really overpowered ability more so than it already was, or they're opening it up so that other benders can contend with bloodbending based on their own chi. Like for example, I would like the idea if, for example, Jinora, not an extraordinary combative bender, right? I think we all can agree with that she's not she's not up there with Tenzin, she's not up there with Zahir. But we do know her as being a very powerful air bender because of her spiritual abilities. I think it's really awesome if, say, you know, we do have some new bloodbender character who's not as powerful as Yakone, not as powerful as Amon, that Jinora can resist purely based on her spiritual energy. Like, I think that would be kind of cool. Like, that's where the world building gets interesting for me, at least, in my mind. It's kind of a big shift in power scaling. Pretty much, if you are not a spirit or an avatar, you don't stand a chance against Amon and Yakone. Yeah, Amon and Yakone specifically. Chi bending confirmed. I mean, kind of, like a little bit. Like, this does kind of confirm like the idea of there being like some sort of chi bending, you know, subset. So in theory, could there be a super advanced chi form of other elements? I mean, these are the things that you tend to think about when they make claims like this. Which is why I think they try to keep their mouths closed on a lot of these things, because then, you know, then fans can go crazy with, oh, well, you could do this, you could do that, if that's possible, you know. Yeah, he could bloodbend with just a look without fancy movements. The guy was cuffed. Yeah, like Yakone and Yaman are different beasts. Like I think they made them a little bit too powerful. Now, that actually was my biggest critique of book 1 of Korra. Not really the probe. I know some people were really upset with like there being too much probe bending. I was okay with the amount of probe bending. I mean, it does go a little bit long, but I'm not like super miffed about it. What I was miffed about was like the introduction of bloodbending, and bloodbending to the extent that they took it. Like, oh, you could do it without the full moon. You can do it. You could do psychic bloodbending. Like, that's where I was like, okay, that's a little bit too much. That's a little bit too much. Makes more sense for Katara breaking Hama's grip too. Yeah, it makes more sense because if you're saying that Katara's innate chi is more powerful than Hama, then yes, that makes sense. That even without training, because in my mind, bloodbending, at least prior to this, you know, this whole thing that came out, should have been a skill-based ability, not so much I have more force powers than you, I have more midichlorians than you, which is kind of how it's, you know, devolving into now. It does make more sense for Katara for resisting the bloodbending grip. It makes more sense for Korra to do it at the end of book 1 of Amon. There's a lot to talk about with this one. Yeah, I wonder if it wasn't just supposed to be a mini series for season 1, how different their approach to Amon would have been. Oh, true. Like, would Amon have been a more fully realized bender, or sorry, more fully realized villain that would, stretch over the course of an entire series, not just one book. But I actually do like the idea of there being one villain per book in Korra. Actually, that's one of the things I like most about Korra, is that there is one villain per book, and there's like one big idea that is at play, versus, oh, thank you so much for the $5, Teddy. I'm fine with everything else, but I'm with you on psychic bloodbending. Yeah, same with me, man. Like, I'm okay with bloodbending. I think bloodbending is a really cool concept, especially when it's limited to the full moon, because it's opening up the chi paths of a waterbender, right? Because you're elevating the innate powers of a waterbender. I just had the issue with it being psychic on one part of it, and that it's what's the word I was gonna say? Psychic bloodbending. Oh, and that you don't need the full moon to use it. Also, guys, let's give some hearts in the chat for Teddy for the $5 donation. That's really nice of him. I'm gonna give you some hearts in the chat. Let me give you some hearts in the chat. Hearts in the chat. Oh wow, I gave you maybe too many hearts. I meant to only do 3 hearts, but it did several hearts. I'm so sorry about that. But thank you, thank you so much for the $5. That really is appreciated. I'd like to see bloodbending brought back, but from the viewpoint of it possibly being used for healing. Yeah, I would like that too. That'd be cool. Like, not just the one use of it being used to dominate other people. Yeah, and let's not leave out Tarlok. You're right. Tarlok is extremely powerful too. Like, they definitely scaled that ability too high, in my opinion. And I would like the idea of it being that, Yakone and that family were just an anomaly. And that only happens like every 100 generations, right? Like, I don't want to see another freaking psychic bloodbender for like another 4 or 5 Avatar life cycles, right? So, oh, thank you, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Yes, definitely enjoyed the pod. We loved hanging out. We're talking about some extra stuff here, about the bonus episode that came out on the podcast, and about the chi paths that were going on between the bloodbenders, and what that can imply for the magic system and the power levels and the power scaling of Avatar. But yeah, we hope that Mike and Brian will tell us more stuff about what's going on with the movie and all the other things, Enjoyed the podcast. Thank you. I definitely want to hang out more and watch more. With this info, I can just imagine someone trying to bloodbend King Boomy and him just walking it off. Yeah, and here's the reason why. And I even thought this about King Boomy, not only because of this new information that we're getting about the chi pass, and that you have to have a powerful, a chi energy to surpass someone else's energy to even bloodbend them. But I always thought that Boomy could be one of the few benders who could face against another bloodbender, because he didn't really use that much of his body to bend. Like, as we know, all he needed was his face to bloodbend on the day of the Black Sun. If a bloodbender came face to face with Boomy and was like trying to, hold him down with their bloodbending technique, but then he's like, that's okay, you did bloodbend my face, and he's still able to earthbend. And also just the idea that I think that the next evolution of bending is psychic bending. Like, that seems to be where it can go at high levels, as we saw with Minghua. Minghua still bends with her shoulder blades, but she is doing it with a reduced form of bending. So you could say eventually, if Minghua had lived long enough, if she hadn't gotten killed by Mako in that cave, that she could have learned psychic bending in the same way that basically Amon and Yakone were basically doing psychic water bending, in a way that basically combustion bending is psychic fire bending. So I do see that as like the evolution of bending. And I think possibly we might see more of that with the Earth Avatar series, whenever that, comes up. Bending always felt so physical. I just like any type of psychic bending as in it being elemental. You know what, Kevin? I can totally agree with you with that. I can understand where you're coming from, where the idea or the interesting thing about the magic system of Airbender, which made it so unique from other magic systems, like, you look at superhero stuff where it's like, oh yeah, superhero stuff. They just kind of like fling out their hands and they shoot stuff and then they create magic, or, other magic systems where, you have to use like a magical staff or a wand to create your magic. The cool thing about Avatar is that the bending is generated from the martial art. And we would lose a whole lot if a lot of benders became psychic benders, because then it becomes more of a conventional magic system than it is a unique martial art based magic system. So I totally agree with you on that one, Kevin. Like I definitely would feel the loss of it if like suddenly a bunch of benders are psychic benders now. But I do see that as the natural evolution. So there's two minds of it, right? There's the cool factor of it being like this very unique martial arts system, but then there's the other logical part of my brain that's like, well, then also the progression of the magic system would lend itself to psychic bending. We're already seeing it happen with several benders already. But yeah, we would lose that very awesome element of the martial arts being the catalyst for the bending. See, I'm fine with the idea that there being some particularly skilled benders that can do it without full moon. For me, the whole psychic thing is where I draw the line. Yeah, and I'm okay with that too. I'm okay with there being like extraordinary benders. Like it's cool if you have like Toph who invents metal bending. It's cool if you have like, you know, Gazans who can do lava. I just don't want to see it widespread. Is the thing. I don't want to see it that widespread. I can't wait to see Katara fans to use an argument that she was has way stronger chi than Amon, so she can slam him. No, I don't. I mean, the thing with Katara is that we just have not seen that power scale from any of her bending match what Amon and Yakon were doing until we see, you know, Katara, you know, blood bend an entire courtroom or something equivalent to that. Then you can't like rightfully say that she's more powerful than Amon and Yakon. Just based on like what we've seen in the lore, you know. I have driver's ed, but I won't leave. No. If you have driver's ed, that's much more important. Go learn how to drive. Driving is a very important skill to have as an adult, especially in the United States, because we are a big driving culture here. Finland, my current diamond art, waiting for it to dry. Oh, finished my current diamond art. Oh, Kiki. Oh, you're the one who's in my Discord who always has the diamond art. Which, by the way, guys, if you're in my Discord and you see Kiki's diamond art, it's really, really nice. Do you think the Earth Avatar will be Genji? No. Genji is a fan project. Boomy kind of uses psychic bending. Yep. I was talking about that earlier. I was talking about how like if anyone is to do well against an Earthbender, a Bloodbender, it would be someone like Boomy, who doesn't have to use a majority of his body to bend. Is there an explanation on Guru Pathik's abilities? He can sense Aang and communicate with animals like Appa. It's not thoroughly explained, like in the lore, but it is alluded to if you read the Kyoshi novels. In particular, if you read up on anything pertaining to the assassin Lauga, there's a lot, you know, based on that I think you'll have a gander about. That's very similar to what Guru Pathik was doing. Because technique was so important, and now it's like we didn't need to learn those martial arts techniques. Well, that thing, if we do, you know, end up going to the point where, you know, bending is psychic, I don't want it to be like an automatic thing. Like you can't just like, it's like someone who is a mathematician and doesn't learn the formulas, right? You don't learn like the formulas for calculus or the principles of algebra or geometry, whatever it might be. And you just skip straight to just using a calculator. It's the same thing right now where people have the issue with AI, feeling that we won't be using our brains because of AI, because we're just going to go automatically to, oh, let's just use that AI tool. I think if we do end up going to like a psychic bending situation, that you should always have the foundation. Always, there should be a foundation of the martial art. Like, you can't even get to the psychic level until you actually do the martial arts part. Like, there has to be levels to it. There's steps to it. You can't just automatically go to psychic bending. So there will always be a place for martial arts being a foundation for elemental bending. But that's just me talking. That's me talking on my butt. We actually haven't seen full power Katara. That's like saying we've never seen full power anybody. Like, you can make the argument for any, and that's a very, to me, loose and not very strong argument, because you can make the argument for any character. You can be like, oh well, we've never seen full power so and so. You know what I mean? Like, you can only base on what has actually been seen, in my opinion. Oh no, you don't need driver's eds. Wait, I have driver's ed, but I won't leave. Wait. What do you mean you don't need driver's eds? But you are going to driver's eds. Yeah, psychic bending basically just becomes magic. Yeah, at that point. Also, what's up, Tommy? Also, did I miss anybody else? Steve. I didn't say hi to Steve. I didn't say hi to Kevin. Really, I didn't say hi to Teddy. I didn't say hi to Red Lotus. Thoughts on the spirit world being open to the public? What will be the need of the avatar? I mean, that's kind of like the big question, right? For Korra and like any avatar after Korra, like what is the need of you? If there's the avatar is supposed to be the bridge between the two worlds, but then the two worlds are open, so then like that actually might be a big component for what the Earth Avatar series might end up being. Like, is what is the point of the avatar if the bridge between the two worlds is open? Oh, your streams over. Oh, you're saying that you enjoy my streams more than Driver's Ed. I get it. Thank you so much, Insomniac. That's how I want them to use psychic bending. It's like something you can only do if you're already proficient with the martial art. Like you have the martial, like you have to master that first. Yes, completely agree with you on that one. So to make it very clear, I am not okay with psychic bending. I do not want there to be psychic bending. The logical part of my brain understands how the progress of that would happen. And if it did happen, it would have to be a foundation of a martial arts first. But yeah. But anyway, I think that's going to end today's stream. I do have to go and do some work. I have an audiobook to finish and some writing to do. Always working hard on that sort of a thing and those sorts of stuff. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me as we listen to the podcast. I like to do this more often. Again, like I said before, I only really listen to the podcast when Mike and Brian are on the show. But maybe we can make this more of a continuous thing if, sorry for the sirens in the background. If they continue doing like premieres on the Avatar: The Last Airbender YouTube page. But yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys on the next one. Let me say goodbye to everybody who's in the chat right now. See you later, Insomniac. Thank you for coming out and hanging out. Gent Lord 3, thank you for coming out and hanging. Zaluk, hey, thanks for coming and hanging. Red Lotus, Kiki, Jesus was not sinless. That's a name for sure. Hellkaiser, who else was here? Kevin, Missing. Again, Teddy, thank you again for the $5 donation. I honestly really, really, really do appreciate that. Really, really do. Gina Love, thank you for coming out and hanging out. Zealous Gaming. Ice Teaser, thank you for being here for the whole time. Who else am I missing? Starlight, thank you for coming out. Ethan Craig, Junior Kaios, Ninja Meg, Ladicious, that's a pretty cool name. The Shinobi Avatar, Zaxxon, Dyna Guy, anyone else I'm missing? Christopher Killian, Kuvira and Kaylee. Who else am I missing? Steve, Omari Charles. Thank you guys for hanging out. Catch you guys on the next one. Again, this live stream might not be live because it might get hit with the copyright strike because we were watching the Avatar: The Last Airbender channel, so this might not be here anymore for playback. But if it is on playback, hello to people who are actually seeing the playback. I'll catch you guys